Shelley, welcome back to my channel. I unintentionally took a couple months off from doing any videos. I have been doing a bit of reading, not a lot, with what's been going on in the world, politics, and everything else in general. Probably been doing more doom scrolling than reading, so hopefully I'm filming this is now April 1st. So I'm hoping now this month I'm just going to get back into more reading and less time on the internet. So today I'm going to talk about the books I read way back in February. Hopefully I can remember what they were about. And then later on this week, sometime this week, I'm going to do my today's February. Then I'm going to do my April reading that I want to do, and then I'll film my March reading wrap up, so that'll probably go up sometime in the next week or so as well. So way back in February I read or listened to 7 books, and the first one that I want to talk about is Moby Dick. So this one was one of the ones that I, if you remember my TBR jar, I pick one jar a month, one book a month from the jar. Books I've had the longest on my bookshelves. And this was the one I picked for January, and I did finish reading it about halfway through February. I took, read a little bit a day, took my time reading it, which I'm glad I did, because this book was written back in 18-something. The 1800s. So I mean the writing is quite different, of course, from today's writing. And this jar right here, so that's the jar I use with the 12 books for this year. I picked February and March. I'll talk about those in my other video. But I'm going to take my time. If I don't finish reading a book in the month that I picked it, I'm still going to continue reading. I'm giving myself to the end of the year to read all 12 of the books, and then I guess maybe if I don't finish reading it, maybe if I'm just not interested in it, then I will just at the end of the year probably unhaul whatever books that I didn't feel like reading, or maybe even some of the ones I've read, maybe I don't want to read them again, so I might unhaul those. So I'll go through that at the end of the year. But Moby Dick, I'm not sure what I was expecting. But, sorry to pause there for a minute. So with Moby Dick, there's one word that came up a few times in this book, and I wish when I first saw the word, I counted how many times it was actually mentioned in the book, and that is the word monomania. And it was either monomania, monomaniac, or monomaniacal. Was mentioned many times throughout this book. And the dictionary meaning is a person exhibiting an exaggerated or obsessive enthusiasm for or preoccupation with one thing. A monomaniac is a person who is extremely interested in only one thing, often to such a degree that they are mentally ill. So I really think that would describe Captain Ahab in this book. Because he's not even introduced in this book, I think, till chapter 29 maybe. Let's see, chapter 29. In the beginning of the book is just Ishmael, and he meets Queequeg, who he thinks of first as a cannibal and maybe a savage, but he realizes he underestimates him, and he's misunderstood him, and they become quite good friends along the way. But Captain Ahab is introduced partway through the book, and then they get underway. But I won't pretend to know a lot of what happened in this book. I mean, this book is basically about the whaling industry back then in the 1800s. I mean, there was even a full chapter on the different types of whales that there were, and descriptions of the whales. And then basically the what happens when they encounter Moby Dick towards at the end of the book. That's the big thing, and the way the whale acts towards other ships, because along the way they talk to other boats and ask if they've seen the white whale, and the white whale seems to be just attacks any boat that comes near it. And when they do see Moby Dick, it's just there's a lot of harpoons and there's like metal sticking out of him. So I mean, you would think that maybe over the course of the years, the whale maybe has become infected with all the barbs and the metal that has been stuck in them throughout the years, and so maybe the whale is a bit crazy. But I really did. I enjoyed this book more than I thought I would, and I'm glad. I just read I read anywhere between say 12 to 20 pages a day. I didn't read a lot one time. I think if I did, I probably would have found it overwhelming or maybe even a little bit boring. But I did enjoy it because I read it that way. I did enjoy that it talked about all the whaling industry back then, and how much people got paid depending on where they were on the scale of what position they took on the boat and things like that. But I really did enjoy this book. So if you haven't read it, I think this one, I know it's like a big book, but I think if you just took your time with it and read it, I think you would really enjoy it as well. And that was my book, my January TBR book that I chose. I got that one read, and that's the only book, spoiler alert, that's the only book I got finished yet from that TBR jar. And I had to pick April months this week. Okay, and the next book, I have it up on the screen here. The next book I read in February is Finlay Donovan Digs Her Own Grave. And this one is a mystery, fiction, adventurous. It's funny. And then the fifth book, Finlay and her, it's her nanny / partner in crime. It has to do with their elderly neighbor, Mrs. Haggerty, who lives across the road. And the police find the body in her backyard. And of course, first she is a suspect, but she is cleared. But then she has nowhere to stay because her house is still a crime scene, her property. And she moves herself in across the road with Finlay and Vero. So Vero decides to try to find out, of course, where the body came from, and tries to solve the crime herself, which she normally tries to do in all the books. And of course, it's hilarious. Things happen along the way, and I really enjoyed this one. This one actually I had a pre-order, but I was lucky enough to get early audiobook through Nick Gelly from Macmillan Audio, so I got to listen to the audiobook before the book actually came out. And the audiobook narrator, I can't remember her name off the top of my head right now, but I really enjoy her voice for these books. She does a great job of all the different voices, even Finlay's little girl Delia, and the way she does her voice. I think she really does a great job with the voices. Where you can some books I find you can't really tell which character is which, but I find she does a really good job changing the accents and the tones of the people's voices, and I really did enjoy this one. I'm hoping there's another book coming up next year, maybe, with Finlay. And the next book I read in February is Sunrise by the Sea by Jenny Colgan. And this book is it's the fourth book in the Little Beach Street Bakery series. I read the other three books. It was probably a few years ago now, and this one's been sitting on my shelf for quite a while actually. And I realized it was part of that series, and I had already read the first three books, so I decided to pick this one up for February, because it did complete the challenge for the Buzzword challenge, challenges for that month. So this one is, it's it's a little bit romance. It's lighthearted. It's, it's not heavy on the romance story, but it is romance centered, but it's not too romancy. I don't know if that makes sense, but I really enjoyed Jenny Colgan's writing. I've read a nice few of her books, and but this one here, the main character in the other books is in this book, but this book is centered on a character, Marisa Rasso, who moves to the island. She's having trouble with anxiety, social anxiety, I guess, anxiety in general and social. She really can't be around people, and I think this book did a great representation of that, describing like how she felt and what was going on in her world and how she was feeling, and how she gradually, throughout the book, came out of her shell and connected with more people. And I really did enjoy this book as well. The next book I read in February was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. This is the first book in the Thursday Murder Club series. And this is a group of, well, it's 4 friends. They are all in their 70s, I believe, and they are in a retirement village. And of course there's a crime, a couple of deaths happen, and they decide to solve them themselves. And I really did enjoy this book, and I have 2 other books. There's 4 books right now in this series out. And I believe there is a 5th one coming out maybe in the fall. So I'd like to get through the other ones maybe over the spring, summer, because I really did enjoy the characters in this, and there is a movie, I believe, about this book, and I really want to see the movie as well. So, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the books in this series. The next one I read is Station 11, and that was this is a reread for me. I read this 2-3 years ago, or longer. No, it's longer than that. What am I saying? It's about a few years ago now, and I went back and read the first three books before this one, and there are some little connections in the first 3 books. But when you get to this one and the 2 following books, there are more connections throughout the books. So I decided to, I read the other 3, so I decided to reread the following 3, which is Station 11. And I did read The Glass Hotel this month, in March month, and I'm going to reread Sea of Tranquility in April month. Reread that one. And this one, I hope nobody found this book while the pandemic was ongoing in 2020 when it started. Because this is basically, it starts off with the eerie days of civilization's collapse when a pandemic wipes out most of the population of the earth. And it does go back and forth in time. Like it shows some of the main characters at the beginning of this collapse. Excuse me. And but it goes like 20 years into the future with certain characters, and it'll go back into the past. And it kind of shows how some of the characters were connected, either in the beginning, middle, or like now in the future. Some of them meet up again. And it's a story of what happens, how they cope with what happened, and the people they meet along the way. And I love this book as much as I did the first time I read it, and I'll probably will reread this one again sometime in the future. I really did. I enjoy Emily St. John Mandel's writing as well. The next book I read I think this was probably the first book I read in February, and this is A Killing Cold by Kate Ellis Marshall. This one is it's a mystery thriller. Theodore Scott. I'll read the synopsis because I can't really remember a lot, especially names. I tend to read a book and then the names are just gone out of my head. But Theodore Scott met Connor, who was wealthy and a member of a powerful family. 6 months later, he brought her to their family winter retreat called Otterwood. But of course his relatives are skeptical because they don't know anything about her. But one thing, she has received threatening messages on her phone to stay away from him. And then while she's there in a cabin that isn't being, there's so many different cabins on the compound that different members of families are staying in, but there's one that nobody stays in. And of course she goes in there one day and she finds a photo of herself as a child. And she has pretty well no memories of her childhood, or not many. And then of course she starts to remember things while she's there. And there's a lot that goes on, I find, towards the end. I did enjoy the storyline because, of course, going through, you're like, okay, maybe this person is the one sending the messages, or this person is the guilty person. And, of course, with all the different characters, you don't really know for sure who the guilty person is. But I did enjoy this story, and I like the setting. It's like isolated, wintry setting. And I did enjoy, cause I do enjoy Kate Alice Marshall's writing, and I did really enjoy this book. See if I can get the last book in before my voice totally goes. Okay, the last book that I read in February was Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. And this one is climate fiction, I think it's called. It's centered around nature. Like, it seems like all her books, I read her book Migrations a few years ago, and it's like centered around climate change and nature. And I really enjoyed that book. That was one of my favorite books I read, I think, last year or the year before. And this one centers around a family. Dominic Salt and his 3 children, Finn, Raph, and Orly. Orly is the youngest. And they are caretakers of Shearwater, which is a small island off Antarctica, and that island has one of the world's largest seed storage banks. And it was once full of researchers, it says, but all the researchers have left the island because of rising water levels and climate change. So it seems like this book maybe takes place a little bit into the future, but probably not too far. And the family are essentially packing up, and they're trying to decide, they're trying to pack up what seeds they think are most important and get most of them off. Because there's supposed to be people coming to take them from the island in a few weeks. So they're taking care of that. And it's very isolated, of course, because it's a small island off Antarctica. And a woman washes up on shore, Rowan. And of course they don't know where she came from or how she got there, how she managed to survive that. So of course she brings her own mystery with her. And then you're kind of wondering like how the family came to be there. And of course the family is kind of keeping secrets themselves. So throughout the book you kind of find out what has happened with the family before they came to the island and since they've been on the island. And of course you find out what Rowan is doing there while she's on the island. And going through the book you find out bit by bit what happened to everybody in the past, and of course what's going to happen in the end. Of course they can't call, when they find her washed up, they can't call radio for help because for some reason the radios are out, they're not operational, and it's a few weeks before people are scheduled to pick them up and take them off the island. So I think this will probably be one of my favorite. I know I'm not really describing it well, but I think this will probably be one of my favorite books of the year. I really do love the way she writes, her writing, and where the book is about nature, how she makes nature part of the mystery. And I really love her writing, and I have another one of her books that I'm hoping to read sometime this year. And if you've read her other book, Migrations, I think you would love this one too, as well. And and this book here, it is a book of the month book, but I did get an early audiobook copy through NetGalley from Macmillan Audio as well as Finlay Donovan. And I got to listen to the book before it actually came out, which I really enjoyed that as well. Listening to the voice the audiobook narrators was gave it a more haunting quality and really expressed what it was like on the island, and I really enjoyed that as well. And that is it for all the books that I read in February. Hopefully I can better explain the books I read in March when I do my wrap up for that month. So in my next video I'm going to talk about books that I want to read in April, and I have to choose. These are the ones I read, all those, and I have to choose a book from here in my next video. See what my book for April is, even though I haven't even started the book for March, and I'm only a little bit ways into the book I read for February. So I'll talk about those books in my next video as well. And thanks for watching, and I'll be back with my next video soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.